start. I'm just gonna keep going. This is my 2011 BMW R1200Gsa, and I specifically chose the 2011 over other years. I had a 2005. It has a weird ABS system. BMW came up with this modulating brake system that when you apply the front brake, it applies the rear brake, and then it's also, the engine has to be running for it to work, so if you get stuck on a hill and the engine dies, they really just have very little or no brakes. But with the 2009, they did away with that. And there's another option on 2011 that I like better than the newer ones, is that it keeps a lower range first gear on the Adventure. So this is the Adventure. There's also a GS, standard GS. Some differences that first gear is lower range first gear, has a much larger tank, so it's got an 8.1 gallon tank, which is massive fuel range, which is great. It makes it big and bulky, but not bigger than the heads that stick out, so that's okay. We're still at around 500 pounds for this bike. Let me talk about some of the things that I've added to it. So some of the things that I've added, actually I'm thinking right here, I'm going, okay, there's another reason why I chose the 2011. I also chose the 2011 because of the way the power is managed. So on the newer models, there's a different cam. So the cam creates more power at higher RPM, but less torque at lower RPM. And so when you're doing off-road riding on a major, very large motorcycle like this, you're going to be going slow in a lot of sections, and so you want that low RPM torque. That was the main reason I didn't go for a newer one. That maybe cost too, but some of the things I've added. So I go with soft luggage. These are giant loop. I've got two styles of giant loop. These bags are new to me. I actually haven't used them yet, but I've gone to the soft luggage over the hard luggage because you can get your leg caught between the luggage and the bike if you fall, or if you put your foot down and your foot goes back, you could hit the luggage. With soft luggage, it's a lot more forgiving. I'm going to pull that off really quick. It's not really attached right now, but I'll show you one other thing, and that is, so it mounts to the standard racks for the GS, and then I put a giant loop heat guard here to protect the bag, just so it doesn't get hit by the exhaust. Let's move forward by the tank, and I put all these are basically non-skid tank pads, and I kind of custom cut my own. One, I want a place to put my knees and hold on to the tank as I'm going down hills and climbing hills. It just helps to be able to grab that tank and not have it slick like this is. I put some down here as well. So both of these really help for me to be able to grab onto the tank. And this one here just keeps me from scratching the tank if I've got like a belt or something on like that, like with backpacks I have a belt. And let's see, let's move down. So down right here I've got a TourTech, I forget what this thing's called, it's part of the fuel injection system, and it's just a little plastic piece there, and if it gets hit by a rock, or if you tip it over and smash it on a rock, you're going to break it and your day's over. So this protection helps you with that. Just below that, the new starter. So a lot of these BMWs are slow to start, they turn over kind of slowly. Well, they've come out with a new starter, so we put in the new starter and it turns over a lot quicker. That's a quick and easy one. Moving forward or out a little bit, so we've got the GSA comes with some guards, engine guards, and then we've got the engine guards inboard of that as well. Engine guards go all the way up. That's all standard with the GSA. Coming back here, there's these little Adventure side packs are handy for little tiny things, maybe snacks, maybe put your first aid kit. You can't put a lot in here, but they're kind of handy. Yeah, they help a little bit. They're on both sides. It's going to be hard to see, but if you look up underneath there, you're going to see a shock. And one of the major things I did to this bike is replace the suspension. So these bikes come with a automatic suspension system. We're going to show you the front one as well, just so you can see that. And this is the brand that I used is YSS, and it's the G4 Generation 4. And if you look straight back in there, you're gonna see the shock. And you might get a good look at that. Okay, and what that does a couple of things for you. One is the GSA, or the GS Adventure, is a little bit higher than the standard GS. This actually makes it even a little bit higher, so you gain some ground clearance. But if you are vertically challenged, it's going to be a problem. You're going to have to be one-footed on the side because it's pretty tall. But the way these things come stock, even with the ESA or electronic suspension system, they're soft, softer, and way too soft. So we need to upgrade that so we can do more off-road stuff. You can actually jump this bike now and it does just fine. It's still smooth on the road, so it's just a big upgrade. You don't have that 3 settings where you can adjust the height and all of that. You just keep it one setting. You go back to having a knob to adjust the ride height if you've got a passenger. That's a massive upgrade. It's an expensive upgrade, so but for me it was mandatory because I do a lot of pretty hardcore off-road stuff on the GS. Let's see, let's move forward here. There's a few things. So you got the handguards. Those will come stock on the GSA. You can put harder ones on here. These are pretty good. If you have a hard fall, the engine cases usually take most of the bashing, so they're not so bad, and it protects your hands from cold weather. They come with heated grips, otherwise I'd have to add them. I put my Trail Tech on every bike I have, and you'll notice the buddy antenna up here. That's so you can see your buddies on the GPS when you're riding, so you don't have to wait at trail stops. You'll see that in every one of my videos because it's on every one of my bikes. The only kind of cruise control I have on this, because this bike is really made to do those longer adventures. You know, if I'm going to go to Colorado from California or Idaho or down through Mexico, long trips. So I do have a throttle lock cruise control if I want to rest that right hand. And it helps a little bit just for any kind of fatigue. That is it for that piece. I do have a small phone mount here to use as a regular standard directions and stuff for GPS, because this doesn't really do street by street navigation. This is better for traffic and all of that, just to put your phone on there. Let's see, I think tires is really the next and probably last thing with this bike. Oh, actually there's 2 more things. So tires, an aggressive tire is important, but something that can still handle. So these tires are the Bridgestone Battle Axe. They're kind of brand new, and you'll see with that aggressive tread pattern, they create vibration, and at really slow speeds you can feel it. At high speeds you just feel a kind of vibration through the bike. So there's give and take on tires, but you get excellent traction off-road. The next thing is really the skid plate. So the skid plate is probably the one and most important thing you're going to put on your GS, and I use this particular skid plate, which is made by TourTech, and I use it because they use a different mounting system than the stock system. The stock system bolts with 4 bolts that go directly into the sump, and if you hit that skid plate, those 4 bolts will just punch right through the oil pan and you'll just dump all your oil. So there's a couple brands that have a plate underneath that rests on the entire oil pan, and that just distributes the force that's going to hit when you hit something. And TourTech is one of those. Really, TourTech for this bike is probably the best skid plate you can get. It's light enough, you're not adding a ton of weight, but you're getting the protection you really need. Other than that, we want a good set of fog lights, and we've got those here. And that is my 2011 GS Adventure. Thanks.
Pew.
All right. What's that?
I said pew.